this video, we're going to have a lot of fun exploring the world of composing with sound design and audio manipulation by using what are called toolkits, or otherwise known as sample packs. If you're a music maker who's accustomed to primarily working with virtual instruments, such as products made for contact like string libraries, or VST plugins in general like synthesizers, you might be wondering what I'm talking about. And so that's exactly why we're going to cover the following: what toolkits and sample packs are, and why I use them when scoring on major films and TV series. And then we're going to spend the majority of this video hanging out and making an entire cue using only these products. Absolutely no virtual instruments, MIDI keyboards, or faders are required. Get comfortable, and together we're going to make some music using just good old-fashioned WAV files and your favorite sequencer. Let's dive in. So before we start making music, let's very quickly discuss what toolkits or sample packs are. If you're not familiar, these are digital downloads just like virtual instruments, but instead of containing contact instruments or plugins that you open by loading a VST, they're just WAV files, and they're organized typically in folders by types of WAV files. So for example, drones, pulses, percussion, one-shots. Applications like Splice actually allow music creators to, instead of buying an entire sample pack, just download individual sounds that they like for a monthly subscription. I do this a lot, and we're going to do a little bit of that in this video as well. This is a very popular way of creating music, especially for people that write and produce songs or even create production music for licensing. However, I have noticed that composers, especially those who are younger and are fresh out of programs that are more focused on traditional orchestral scoring, they don't do this as much. And so I want to talk about, why do I use sample packs when composing? For me personally, I find that sample packs sort of opens up the whole world so that you can incorporate sounds that not everyone else is going to have or find, because the amount of sample packs and sounds that are available at this point is honestly endless. Also, you can take any sound from a sample pack and you can turn it into its own contact instrument, so you can get even more mileage out of it just by dragging and dropping it into the contact player. So overall, I feel that it's just a different way to create. It's more production focused, and that can really modernize your sounds, and it requires the different techniques that we're going to go over in this video. I also find that when scoring for film or TV, it can allow me to work much faster on certain types of cues, because I just drag and drop these WAV files into my sequencer, and I can then map out the mood of a scene without having to load a single instrument. Basically, creativity and efficiency are my main reasons for using these. Right now, let's just dive into the sequencer and we can start making this piece of music, and as we do it, I'll share what sample pack makers I really love, how I use their sounds, and we're going to pull from them for this piece. I want to let you know, I just kind of made a sketch of this originally, and so now we're going to go over it and really flesh it out. I'm going to kind of retrace my steps to show you exactly how I got it to where it is. So let's dive in. So we're going to start here with somebody who creates sample packs that I really love. I just bought 2 of their packs recently, and that's why they're fresh in my head, and I'm just going to pull some of their sounds from there. It's a drummer that actually was just advertised to me on Instagram. I hadn't heard about them before that. They are called the Mayo drummer. And they have some really, really cool sounds that I'm going to use to start this piece off. And I'm going to go into this sample pack from them called Dirt Blend. These are the one-offs and in the kicks folder. If we go through here, we can just kind of like shuffle through quickly. They have some really cool stuff. I happen to like this last sound that we're going to listen to right here. That's really cool to me, and I think that that can be a really great start to a cue. So let's drag it into the sequencer. I'm just going to take this WAV file, I'm going to drag it in here. I'm going to go to about 84 BPM, just going to start there and see what happens. And I'm going to take this to start my track. And what I am sort of picturing here is that this is going to hit and there's going to be space. And I'm thinking that I'm going to add a filter to it so that it just opens up. And then every time you're hearing it, it's going to allow a little bit more of that high end to come in. Let's start adding. We're going to start it there. We're going to write the automation. And when we're all done, this is what it's going to look like. I've spread this out, as you can see. I've got this filter starting over here. I have the decapitator that I added so that there's some extra grit, and it's already distorted, but now I'm just going to make it really distorted, which is a lot of fun. And let's hear how this sounds on its own, okay? It's pretty cool. you hear that filter opening up, so you get that ending of it. All right, cool. And that just keeps on happening like that. So now let's add another element. I'm gonna go to a part of this same sample pack, and I think that they've got some weird sound effects. So let's start by looking over there. That's cool. Let's drag that in. There's no BPM tied to it, right? But it has a rhythm, and so it's kind of interesting how it's going to play off this kick sound that's opening up and evolving, and I think it's going to add a nice kind of bit of tension. Let's hear how this sounds in this section with these two pieces. So I think that's going to work nicely. As you can hear, I also put a fab filter again on this, and I wrote it with automation, creating that differentiation that we're looking for to add more ear candy to the sound. Let's keep going. We're going to check out a different sample pack maker right now, Infinity Samples. They make really, really cool sound design heavy sample packs, very synth heavy, very cinematic. Let's find something from them to kind of put under this to add a little bit of tone so that we can start dialing in a mood. So this library from Infinity Samples is called Hinterland AI. It's really cool, great collection of sounds. Let's hear them. That's really cool. That has this sort of like psychological, unnerving tone to it. It kind of reminds me of that HBO series Chernobyl, which had a really fantastic score, very sound design heavy, and that's kind of the vibe that I think that we're going to go for here. I want to check out this one here, Radiation Drone. So what I like about this sound is that it's kind of entering in a very subtle, minimal way, and it's going to evolve throughout the length of the wave file. So we could just pop it in against these sort of percussive elements that we've already added. I think that it's going to help to add to the mood and really open things up. Let's check it out. So you can already tell, like for me, I hear that and I can see a scene unfolding. I can hear the sound effects between those beats happening. That's really important to leave room for sound effects, especially in today's modern type of storytelling on high quality TV series and stuff. So this is already sounding really cool. Let's just keep going. We're going to keep looking for cool sounds, and as you can hear, they're just going to layer on each other as those filters open up. So this next one I dropped in here, again, is from Infinity Sample. It's called Birch Walker. They put the key of anything tonal into these, at least if they've done it the right way, they have. And so what I've done is, this piece is in D, so I'm gonna move this up using my transpose feature here. I'm just moving it up 2 semitones, and then I just wanna point out that this piece we put in before was an E, this radiation drone. And so we've moved that down, as you can see in the transpose section here, -2. And so that way everything's in the same key at the moment. So this is just going to add a little bit of extra stuff as it evolves. While it was playing, I actually was listening to it. I'm like, oh, when I heard this first one, I'm like, I like that. I want to hear it again over here. We had the third one over here, and I was thinking like, well, we can't have it do the same exact thing. So while it was playing, I just went up and I transposed it up an octave so that you hear it twice one way, and then the third time you hear it up an octave, and that just kind of adds differentiation. And because those filters are opening again, it sort of adds to the tension. You can imagine that maybe somebody is discovering something that's really like that they shouldn't be, or a piece of the puzzle of the story is coming to light. The next piece that I'm going to do is from something called the Pangea library from, again, Infinity Samples, and this has some cool tone to it. It adds pacing to the scene, which is really good. Let me show you some other things in here before we throw that in, just so you can get a taste of what's included. I really like that last loop. You probably saw my face just kind of light up. So let's actually throw that in and see what happens. Here's another maker that I really like. They're called Ollie, and they've got some really cool sample packs. A lot of them have some very percussive loops, which I think is going to be important to dial in here if we're going to add to that pacing and sort of arc the scene the way that we're talking about. So here's some stuff that is from there. So it's all really processed, cool sounding stuff. Let's add all of these different sounds in there, and here's what we get. Clearly a moment when something happens and we're hitting so that we have that more powerful thing. Let's go to our sample packs and we're going to find a cool riser so we can add more tension leading into that. I'm going to drop this an octave once we hit, just so that we have some differentiation. So let's go back to where we got those very first sounds from Mayo drummer and check out his drum loops and see if we can add to this moment by putting something like that on there. Alright, so we have this drum loop. It's cool, but it's not going to add enough pace that I want in there. So what I'm going to do now, which I can only do with WAV files, is I'm going to cut this up and I'm going to sort of make it serve my purpose for the scene. I'm going to make it so that it has a lot more adrenaline and a lot more momentum. Check this out. Let's have this repeat over here. And let's add a little EQ so this is kind of hitting differently. So do you hear now that we've cut that up and sort of made it our own, that it blends better with the other rhythms? That's sort of what I recommend doing when working with WAV files like this, and it's sort of the joy of working with WAV files because you have the freedom to do that. You're not stuck just pressing a keyboard note and then the loop is what it is. You can customize it and bend it to your will, which is just a lot of fun. Let's just keep adding to it, and then we're going to come down and we'll call that a cue. That's pretty cool. Let's see what that sounds like over it. Notice here that I'm making sure to carve out this low end so we don't get too muddy. I want to see if we can accentuate that sound a little more with thermal. What I'm also going to do, I'm going to add from my own toolkit something that I call the tea kettle. It's a completely distorted noise sound. I think I originally made this on the show Next that I worked on. Now, as I promised, we could check out Splice. As you'll see, I have tons and tons of stuff that I've downloaded, got different tones and everything. I think maybe some sort of really feedbacky guitar might be good because we want to add differentiation in the music here. That's what I'm looking for. So we just drag that in here. Now we're going to have a new color to sort of change things up. And again, I'm going to use some pitch shift. So we need something else that's really going to change up that section. We need it to be percussive, so let's look for that. I want to just see if I can make it sound a little bit more unique. I'm just going to throw thermal on there. Yeah, so that sounds cooler already. Let's hear it without thermal, tuned up regularly. Just sounds a little too ticky-tacky, but I'm dropping it -7. I'm adding thermal, and you can see the little EQ adjustment I did here. And now here's what we got. If this is like an action tension scene, that's a really cool sound that's going to help push it forward. Cool. So let's just add a little bit of cymbals for production value now. Again, I'm going to go to my toolkits and see if he's got any one-shot cymbal hits, because his stuff is going to be really gritty and it'll probably blend really well. Here's some one-shots. Yeah. That'll probably go nicely with the pacing we have here. I think it's got a really cool, it's definitely modern, and it's definitely out of the box. And again, that's why I like to use sample packs, because with the freedom of manipulating wave files that we have here, as you saw when we changed the beat of the drum set, or when we kind of detuned things a certain way, it just helps to eke out that sort of creativity and that sort of uniqueness. And before we play the piece back, I just want to point out, this is by no means done. I'm going to do more mixing and producing, little things that are going to glue it all together. This is just to give you an example as to what's possible, and hopefully it's inspired you to go out and search for your own sounds and start working, or at least integrating this into your composing process. I really appreciate you checking out this video. If you give it a like and subscribe, it's a big help. And also, if you'd like my free instrument tension pads, check out modernmediacomposer.com. Just sign up for the mailing list and you'll be sent the instrument. If you landed on this video because you're an aspiring composer for film and TV, the next thing I suggest you do is learn about production techniques, and that's exactly why I made this video right here. So check it out, and as always, I hope this was helpful.